Welcome to the first episode of the Feminine Mistake podcast, a look back at women in film. Each month we will be sitting down and looking at a film from the past, and we're going to look at some of the ways that women have been portrayed in film and television. I'm one of your hosts, Nicole.
I'm Hillary.
And I'm Sarah.
So, and tonight our movie is, our first movie, the very first movie is going to be Baby Boom from 1987. Starring Diane Keaton and Sam Shepard, who I completely forgot was in this movie.
I did too until I saw his name in the credits, and I was like, oh my, that is Sam Shepard.
So let's talk a little bit about, did you guys have any awareness of this movie before watching it for the podcast? Or
I hadn't heard of this film before in my life. So apparently it was a big hit, according to my mom.
Oh, in the 80s? Yeah,
Yep.
I think so.
I knew nothing about this movie except that you told me there was a movie that existed called Baby Boom with Diane Keaton. And that was what I knew about it.
So yeah, I saw this in the 80s and was really young. I think, well, in 87, I would have been like 7 or 8 years old. I remember my mom loved it. She thought it was so funny. The reason that I would say almost the entire reason that I sort of came up with this podcast, I have to credit this movie, because when I have, for those of you who don't know me, I have 3 children. My oldest is 5, my second is 3, and my youngest is 6 months old. I was pregnant with my first child when I saw this movie, and sort of mulling over like what my life would be like after I had the baby, and how that was going to affect my job, and like how much time I was going to have to spend away from the baby. And so this movie came at a very sensitive time for me. And
Yeah, that sounds like it.
yeah, seeing it as an adult I was like, whoa, there is some crazy stuff in here about women and work and motherhood, and it's stuff I just didn't see when I was a kid. And so I really thought it would be fun to kind of talk about that stuff.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, lots.
All right, well, let's get to it then. So we'll move on to our next segment, which will be to talk about the film Baby Boom.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, right?
You look stupid and rich.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York.
Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, so now we're going to dig in to this movie, and I think we're just going to start at the top here. So you guys somebody want to dive in here with what we've got going on here at the beginning of Baby Boom?
There are a whole bunch of women in Manhattan dressed in business attire, hustling and bustling about. And I remember them saying the words pink ghetto, as in they had climbed their way out of the pink ghetto into the corporate world in the intro there.
I missed that.
Yeah, the pink ghetto. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Sarah, what did you think about this opening? I wrote a lot about it. Like, I don't know if it was because I had just started the movie and I was like really into taking notes, but I felt like there was just so much to unpack in this first minute and a half or 2 minutes or however long this intro was.
Well, I noticed how they talked about feminism in positive terms, and it seemed like they had a very good, attitude about it, and yet it kind of made me sad because it's 29 years later, and we're still dealing with, the issues of can women work and have a family at the same time, and it just felt like so long ago, and yet we're still having these same issues.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation, really, for the entire movie.
Yeah.
And some of the things that are just kind of outrageous, and we'll get to them, that happen in this movie, you're like, that could really happen. That could happen today, and it would not seem out of place at all.
Yeah, it's actually kind of upsetting.
But I felt like the opening, I do really like the opening a lot. I like all the women like rushing off to work, and it's mostly women you see, which is not common in a movie. And I was aware of that, and watching it, I was like seeing all these female faces. It was very unusual.
Oh, for sure. But also, I feel like they were in a lot of colors, too, and I also don't see that in a New York setting. I didn't see, people in, gray and black suits, and, they're all men.
So it didn't seem very accurate for you. So the pink
kind of,
power suits were not working out for you.
Tipped me off a bit to the womanhood.
I was really drawn to the sneakers as well, the women wearing the sneakers. I'm for those of you who don't know us, I'm in my mid-30s. and these guys are in their mid-20s, so I'm a little bit older than you guys. I don't know how much... When I was a kid, like, women wearing sneakers in New York was, like, the prototypical, like, working woman. How the women would, like, take off their high heels and throw on the sneakers and, you know, walk quickly to their corporate job or whatever it was they were doing. That was, like, the image, and the big shoulder pads and the power suit. I don't know. That image of all the sneakers walking, you know, to work that they showed really
Just
stuck
shows
out
how
for me.
useless, not useless, but
Unnecessary?
unnecessary, like high heels are,
Mm-hmm.
like that they're just they get in the way.
So the other thing that happens here in the beginning is that we get introduced to Diane Keaton's character JC, and her behavior from the very beginning is very telling. I think they're trying to tell us something about her. I'm not sure if it's something they're trying to tell us about working women in general, but what did you guys think about how she's introduced?
Well, two things stuck out to me: the fact that she referred to herself, or people referred to her as the Tiger Lady, which back then I guess would have been a compliment, but I kind of saw it as like a masculine term, and like you're only strong if you can be like, you know, ferocious.
Yeah.
You know, and then another thing that stuck out to me was they said she was married to her job.
Yeah.
Which, like, it's like something that I thought, like, it's viewed that, I guess, women, like, the important thing is to be married, and if you can't be married to a man, you should be married to something.
Oh, that's a good observation.
Because you don't hear about men being married to their jobs.
That is true. You're right. You don't hear that a lot.
I don't think this part is like still like right in her intro, but like something that did stand out to me was that when she was like at the very first dinner meeting she has or whatever, they serve a pasta dish and a salad, and she's getting the pasta and the dude she's with is getting the salad, and I was like, oh, that was a nice little twist.
Nice observation.
You never
I
see a
actually
lady without a salad.
Yeah, you're right. I did not notice that, actually, and I feel kind of silly that...
It's one of my big pet peeves in movies is when a lady always is eating a salad, because I'm like, no, bitch, you would be eating that burger. Like, come on.
You should be eating a steak. I should have paid attention to
I know.
that. That's a good
so
observation.
many things.
Somebody takes me out, I'm like ordering a steak. Like, I'm not paying for that
I'd
meal.
like a lobster with a side of lobster.
Yes.
Please. Yeah. So let's talk about the first really cringeworthy scene, which I think it's intended to be, that lunch with JC and Fritz, where he talks about the partnership. So let's get into that.
Yeah. Some lines that stuck out to me were, normally I don't think of you as a woman.
Yep, that one is on my list.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, what?
A man can have a job and a full personal life, meaning a woman can't. And I can have it all, meaning a woman can't. And then JC says, I don't want it all.
Yeah, the Liz Lemon idea of having it all.
His, of course, opinion being that, like, men can, because they have a woman to take care of the family life, I think is what he's not so subtly implying there. But
Yeah. I think he was supposed to be, like, the bad guy. I couldn't tell at first, but then thinking more about it, it's like, I think he was supposed to be seen as a sexist.
Yeah, I definitely think that we're meant to kind of see him. I guess he's the closest thing to a villain in this movie, if there's the antagonist, I guess you could call him. But the guy is kind of weirdly likable. I think that actor is, so it makes him like he doesn't play him as being one-dimensional, which I appreciate. But yeah, certainly the things coming out of his mouth are really surprising, but not entirely wrong. I hate to say, I think a lot of people do feel that way. And I don't think what he's saying is, like, so wrong that it's, like, unbelievable. Another thing that stuck out to me is when he's talking about his wife, and he says, my wife is always there for me. And then he ends that whole speech by saying, I don't know what she does all day. Basically, he says, she does. I don't know what she does. Like, he's very dismissive about it. Like, it's important, but I don't know. I don't care. I don't give a fuck what she's doing all day. She's doing something while I be a man out there. You know?
Yeah. I think like what preceded that was he asked her like, what if Steven wants a wife? And like that idea of like, you can't be a wife and work at the same time. You've got to, if you're a wife, you're at home and you're raising kids and taking care of the house. And like, it was that idea of a wife and not just like a well-rounded woman who was also married.
Oh yeah, right. Like you have to choose. Like you can have one or the other, but not both.
But a man can have both, because everyone knows that a man, his most important place is at work, and he doesn't need to take care of the house
or
the
apparently
kids.
even need to know what's going on at home at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think later, I mean, I don't want to jump ahead, but I believe there at some point later he says, like, I have grandkids. I don't even know what
I
their
don't know
names
how many. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I
It's
miss
just like,
that.
oh God.
Yeah.
much.
And she doesn't fight him about that at all. She doesn't say, this isn't appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't say this isn't none of your business.
She doesn't even seem to flinch.
She immediately says, I don't want those things.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. All I care about is this job. I think people still quietly hold those beliefs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Some people not even quietly hold those beliefs. I've
Exactly.
heard. Yeah.
Definitely. So the next kind of thing that happens is we get introduced to Harold Ramis's character. I don't remember his name. Do you guys? Steve. So we get introduced to Steve and her home life.
It's true love, guys. They have a 4-minute sexual encounter.
Amazing.
Yeah. And they both get fully clothed afterwards too.
They go
Full
in fully
button up.
clothed, and then they come out fully clothed. It's like, what just happened?
I
in
love
4
the way-
minutes.
okay, so can we just take a minute to appreciate Harold Ramis, who is one of my favorite actors that have ever existed. His character is so unlikable in this movie,
It's so unlikable.
but he's still likable somehow.
Yeah.
Like, even though
Yeah.
his character should be a complete piece of garbage, like he
I still like him. Yeah.
is still likable. I love the way he says that was incredible after they're like where he's just like where he just says it like he's thanking somebody for, like, I don't know.
Like a great scone. Like he's just like, that scone was incredible.
Thank you for that delicious scone. It went well with my coffee. I love how she was just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, she's like, all right, I'll put down my newspaper for a minute, I guess, but
Typical.
like make it quick.
It's like
You
a
know, 5
business
minutes.
transaction
Yeah.
they have. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, you want to have sex now? Well, okay.
I've got 4 minutes. Hurry it up.
So then after that, she gets this call in the middle of the night telling her she's inherited something that she can't hear because conveniently,
Yeah.
the connection is bad.
But she's got to be at the airport the next day.
The very next day. Can we stop and talk for a minute about how adoption is portrayed in this movie?
Oh my
And
God.
how
Yeah.
unbelievably ridiculous the premise that somebody would just walk off a plane
with a
and
baby.
Yeah.
hand you a baby.
With just a diaper bag.
Right?
And nothing
You would
else,
have to
just
take
a
the
diaper
baby.
bag.
and you just sign here like you're receiving a mattress or something.
Yeah.
Like a mattress
And like
delivery.
you have to take the baby even if you don't want the baby. That would not be allowed.
There's no background check. There's no investigation into whether this person is a competent parent. It's just, I'm going to see my relatives. Please take this hamster off my hands for the weekend / human child.
Yeah, really silly. And I feel like if you hand a child to someone and they're like holding it like a football,
I actually
like
thought
under
that
their
was very
side,
funny.
like that poor child got manhandled the whole time.
like thrown around.
So then I started thinking about, like, I mean, I have kids, so if somebody handed me a baby, I would have been like, oh, well, what's one more? But I was kind of thinking about, like, what would Hillary and Sarah, would it be like for them if they went to an airport and someone handed them a baby?
Oh my God.
I would be like, oh, and then I would try to find a way to put it up for adoption because I don't want kids.
There's a movie I want to see.
I would
Sarah,
too.
like, if it was a sloth, though.
Oh my gosh. You guys should know I'm obsessed with sloths and hedgehogs.
If
So
it was a sloth,
Yeah,
you'd
it
be
was a
like, I'm
sloth.
taking this home.
I feel like if it was a sloth, I would take it home too. But if it was a baby, I'd probably just stand in the airport and cry and like call my mom and be like, "Mom, I don't know what to do. You've got a,
oh, my
I've
mom
got a
would
new
totally
sister or
take.
brother. Take it."
My mom would totally take the baby. She's often said that if a baby just showed up on her doorstep, she would take that child.
I don't think I'd decide to like move to the country and abandon everything, like raise a child.
Yeah.
I think I'd drop it off at your house, maybe, Nicole.
yeah,
I would like drive it over
we
here.
probably wouldn't notice.
I'd probably stick it in the
Such
back
a
of
mess
an Uber
here.
cab and just tell it like, all right, head to Nicole's.
That baby is so fucking cute.
Very cute.
So
I couldn't
cute.
even stand it.
and it's actually
my God.
twins because they
Right,
had to.
Yeah. She
They
didn't
just-
age throughout the whole movie,
I know.
but so
No.
cute.
Which
aging.
confused me about
It was
the laws of
creepy.
time and space in
Yes.
this movie, but I guess we can get to that when we get to the montages. But
Yeah. The montages that are supposed to symbolize the passage of time.
and yet the baby never ages. Okay, so then we enter the restaurant where everyone hates babies.
Well, but then again, when I was a
Whatsoever.
hostess at a fine dining restaurant, if somebody came in and just handed me their baby and was like, watch this for an hour, I have a meeting, I would be furious.
That's a good point.
I would be mad.
That's a good
because
point.
I would have been like in heels carrying a baby all of a sudden and like caring for it. I would not have been happy.
I want to see this movie remade with Hillary as the.
As every woman character who's just like, nope.
No, I mean like I
Not
want to
for me.
see you as the career lady who gets handed the baby.
Yeah, JC just
God.
throws her to the coat check person.
I know,
Just, like,
that was so
throws
upsetting.
her.
She's like code checking the baby. I'm like, this is very, as a mother, very
Yeah.
upsetting for me. So she goes to the restaurant where everyone hates babies, and she code checks the baby.
And doesn't even get a tag for it or a receipt.
Right?
Just, like,
How does she
leaves,
know? What if she
walks
leaves
away.
with someone else's baby?
Right?
I mean,
I
you should
wonder
at
how many
least
they have back there on hangers.
Get the ticket.
That was not an abortion joke.
So my first thought here is she should not have this baby. Like
No.
there's just nothing about her that is qualified to be taking care of this child at this point. Also, I know it's an important meeting, right? It's with the food chain people and it's
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
deal, but maybe cancel like
Yeah.
you have diarrhea or something and you can't. I mean, people
Yeah.
get sick.
Like, don't reveal this, like, infant child that you were just handed 30 minutes before. Just anything. My cab got delayed and drop it off at a daycare. Do daycares not exist in this world?
Exactly. The whole time
Like-
I'm like, why are you bringing your baby everywhere?
She doesn't know anyone that can watch this child for an hour.
Right? There are
insane.
places, go to drop the kid. There's daycares in the gym, for God's sakes.
Right?
Go in your workout gear, leave the child, leave before anyone notices. I mean, you're coach checking the baby already.
Right?
Well,
So
in
you're
this
not that
film-
Might as
concerned
well
about
just
her
leave it at the
safety.
gym.
In this film, the child is a prop. Like,
That's true.
she's there when she needs to be there. She's not there when she doesn't need to
true.
be there.
That's an excellent point. So she brings this baby to this restaurant for God knows what reason. Doesn't leave it with someone, doesn't cancel the meeting. So I think we could bring this up. It happens a lot. I mean, yes, she's noticeably distracted, I think, because of what
Well,
happened. But
she sits down and says, "How long are you in diapers for?" Sorry, in town. And I was like,
Freudian
she's been a
slip.
mother for an hour and already her brain is gone. Like, wow. Like,
yeah, it's
how
like,
is she not even competent to say hello to a human?
I feel like their heart is in the right place because certainly it's funny when someone's distracted. I get that.
Yeah.
That's comedic. My brain capacity is certainly diminished. I'm often multitasking and lacking in sleep and all of that. But she goes from a competent, driven, well-spoken person to someone who barely can function
Yeah, in like
in
an
front of other
hour.
humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like throughout the movie, like they have constant examples of her just suddenly becoming an idiot
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
someone handed her a baby. And so I find that, I get it's comedy and you gotta take it far or whatever, but it is
Yeah.
a little personally
Yeah.
insulting,
Yeah,
I feel like.
Definitely.
And the look he gives her when they hand her the baby at the very end of that scene is just like so upsetting to me.
Yeah.
Like his just utter hatred of a person holding a baby. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
blah.
Like, she can't even make it through a meeting. And I'm just like, this is why people think women can't be president. It's just like,
Yeah.
So
because
upsetting.
they get their periods and will like nuke someone. And I'm like, no, like, that's not how it is. That's just Diane Keaton in a movie.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
still think,
We're still functional,
still capable, even when we've got a baby.
albeit sleepy.
Yeah. From here, we get back to the apartment and Harold Ramis.
Yes. I just like that the first thing he says is, "What is this?"
Yeah. What is this? Not who is this?
Man don't know what baby is.
Right. Again, the men also portrayed as being. Not a single man holds a baby. I mean,
No.
well, we'll get there later. Somebody does, but
Yeah.
the men will not touch this baby.
No, they will not. And like, I don't know, that just, I was like, really, man? It's a baby. It's just a baby in your living room. Like, you should be more shocked that there's like a missing child in your living room.
Like maybe it wandered in from
Yeah.
a neighbor's. Yeah,
Like, maybe this is The Shining.
it's one of those evil children.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
it's
be a-
children of the corn.
Exactly.
You should be more concerned about that.
I also really liked that they like strapped her to a high chair, like on, it wasn't a high chair, it was like a chair that they put phone books on, and then strapped her to it with a belt. And I was like, there were no other options here besides strap her to the chair with a
Right?
belt.
Like you can't feed her in your lap or
And
something.
then
Yeah.
she sprayed her like dress with surface cleaner with
with
like
a Windex.
to like clean it. No, I just like the next note I wrote was it was about the way that JC struggles with figuring out how to change diapers
The
and how
diaper
to
scene.
do that. You think she hadn't gone to college, or like, you know, these things are super easy to do, and yet, like, you know, these are the kind of things that men pretend they can't do or say they don't know how to do, so they can get out of doing them. They're not that hard. And it's kind of insulting to see JC being portrayed as, you know, a brilliant lawyer who can't change a diaper.
Is she Laura? I think she's an
Is she a lawyer?
advertising.
She's an advertiser?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
she's doing
Advertising.
advertising. But yes,
she's
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
so
cum laude at
brilliant. She went to
Hartford, yeah.
Harvard,
Like-
and the diaper thing is just cannot figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
I get that it's funny and all of that, and
And they tape it on her with electrical tape.
which was funny.
That was funny.
I mean, but again, it's like it's not that hard to figure out a diaper.
Yeah.
It could have been
Like,
funny like 10 tries sooner.
right.
There were like 10 tries too many.
right. It was at this point I began to wonder if this was in a way like more of a commentary on yuppies.
Yeah. that
You know
could
what
be
I
true.
mean?
Yeah.
And how they're only good at certain things, or maybe they're just so self-centered that they don't even care about. I don't know. I started
Yeah.
to
Maybe
wonder
that's
that
it,
if maybe
yeah.
it was
Yeah,
about
they definitely-
yuppies.
I
more
can see
than-
that for sure, especially with like how the story goes and like
Also, I would like to point out that is the most well-behaved goddamn toddler I have ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
The kid
Totally.
just sits in bed watching TV,
And they let her sleep in their bed, like,
which
they
is
had
kind of
no
a intimate thing. Well, I guess
Yeah.
where else are they
yeah.
going to put her? But at this point, she's big enough. They treat her like a baby, but she's
Yeah.
really too big
Yeah,
for you to be
she's-
concerned with her
yeah.
falling out of bed.
I don't know, his like trying to reason with Elizabeth, the little baby,
Yeah.
like was hilarious though.
Yeah.
Like with him just like trying to talk her into certain things.
At one point, JC tells Elizabeth to sit like she's a dog. She just goes, sit.
Although I will say sometimes people who don't have kids, like they definitely, like sometimes you'll see somebody like roll in when you're at the grocery store and your kids are acting like monsters, like some grown-up person will walk by and try to reason with them, and you're
Oh
like,
my goodness.
you're like, good luck
Seriously?
to you.
Yeah.
Good luck to you, sir. Mm-hmm. It was at this moment that I began to wonder, because we know what's happening, right? So they get the next, this is where we're transitioning into it's not really a montage, but it's like the JC falling in love with
Yeah.
the baby sequence.
Yeah, like by sticking a thermometer up her butt.
Well, there's that,
God.
but then there's also like before that where she's just kind of watching the child
Yeah.
play while she's got, doing her work or whatever. And I'm starting to, and my thought to myself was like, is it charming or insulting that she falls in love with this baby as quickly as she does?
As if like all women, if you leave them with a kid for, even a short amount of time, they're going to fall in love with the kid, because women love kids innately. All women want kids.
Right. Like they can't
Yeah.
help it.
Yes.
Like you
Yeah.
give them a
Yes.
baby for 24 hours and that uterus is just going to start sending all the signals.
Yeah, see, I
Yeah.
like babies. I love your kids, Nicole.
Yeah. me
But
too.
I wouldn't want to take them home for an extended period of time.
Well, I can't imagine
But
why.
so like I don't know if it's insulting so much as like graduation goggles, kind of like you're really excited in the moment.
Well, I'm trying to decide, and obviously there is no movie unless she falls in love with this baby. So
Yeah.
we get that. Like that is from a writing standpoint, if she doesn't fall in love with the baby, then it's a real short fucking movie about
Yes.
a lady who we'll probably say has no heart, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
But on the other hand, I'm trying to decide, like, are they saying that this is something she always secretly wanted and this just awakens something in her? Is that what we're meant to believe? Or is it, again, like you said, is it like a woman with no instincts or desire to have children at all? If you give her a baby for 24 hours, she's gonna become a mom. Like,
Yeah.
is that what they're
That-
implying? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but that's
think
how
so.
it felt to me.
I think it's the latter, like that, like she's been around for 24 hours and she's a woman and it's impossible not to.
And that
'Cause,
baby
like,
is fucking cute. I
Yeah.
mean, we have said that.
Because I mean, she doesn't like automatically become maternal in the moment, She doesn't like automatically know how to do a diaper and like swaddle her and like quit her job and get her enrolled in preschool. She's not like all of a sudden like I'm a mom now.
Yeah,
I can't,
totally.
I
No,
can't
I
do
get
now.
it. Yeah. So then the kid gets sick, which solidifies
freaks
their
out.
bond. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Gets all kinds of drugs and
Which I wish I could get that
Stuff.
shit delivered when my kids get sick. I don't know if you can get medicine delivered,
You can,
especially
on Zifty.
Valium.
Valium. Yeah.
Doesn't she get
it
Valium or
seems-
Vicodin or something?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Valium.
I'm
don't
not
think
sure
you
if that
can get
qualifies. That's probably not something you want to be popping while you're
No.
taking care of a toddler.
I think we
but-
get like Z-Quil, but that's probably the toughest thing
Right.
you can order.
And then she sits down to take the rectal
Yes, let's
temperature
talk about
of
that.
the baby, and she pops a Valium and then does that. And I'm like side note, like how much would it suck to be that child who had to have your rectal temperature taken on camera, and like you grow up and
I'm
it's
sure
always
they didn't.
there.
They didn't really.
No, I know, but they
It was
spread
you know,
her butt cheeks. Like,
yeah.
like, it didn't actually happen, but it looked
That's
like
a good
it
point.
could
I
have.
guess I wasn't really thinking about that. I was actually thinking more about what it's like to actually. I mean, I don't give my children once they reach that age. I'm not going to stick a thermometer in their butt. I mean, you can stick it under their arm at that point, but babies, man, when you stick a thermometer in their butt, like they give you this look like of utter betrayal. Like it is the first time in their life where their parents have truly betrayed their trust.
Oh, that's so sad.
But so
Sounds
we've
right.
got the thermometer in the butt scene. And then we've got this, what I would call highly romanticized version of what it's like when your kid is really sick.
Yeah.
Where it's like soft, crossfades with the music playing while she's gently walking back and forth.
And the baby never cries.
No crying. Nobody's vomiting on anyone. She looks a little tired the next day, but I would not characterize my experience of having sick children as being that. I don't believe that. I mean, yeah, when your child is sick, you get through it, but I would not say it's a bonding experience where you wake up the next day feeling like I feel good about my decision to be a parent. That's not how I feel after staying up all night with a sick child, for sure.
Yeah, I've like nannied for children that have gotten sick in the night before and like been stuck there, and I'm just like, I can't do this. I couldn't do this.
You're like, when will this hell end?
Yeah, it's like a lot to deal with. Like you're covered in someone else's vomit. It's all over the floor. You've got to change sheets and bathe a child that's screaming and really sick, and it's the worst. I would not at all characterize it like this beautiful version of a sick child.
Oh no, I would be
that was,
like the next
Silent
morning,
Night.
just like, well, I'm ready. We're ready to go to the adoption office now. Let's get this over with.
Exactly.
Let's talk about this adoption scene. So we've got this hick couple, which, as a Southerner, you always like to see. Again, the way adoption was portrayed in this movie, I found them so offensive. I was just like, I get it's comedy, but I was like, geez. I mean,
It felt like they were going through like a fast food drive-thru. It's like, I want a boy. Like, if you don't have a boy, I guess I'll go for a girl, but just make sure you have, just check you have no boys.
And I guess we're supposed to hate them, and she's supposed to feel really desperate, and maybe that's why they're so extreme. But God.
Yeah, they were a little terrifying, and like it does not cast adoptive parents in the best light.
No,
and like
not at
my
all.
mom was adopted, and I was just like, that's not how that happens. Like you don't just like give it to some strangers who walk in and are like,
or I don't believe even all of the people meet together like that. I mean,
No.
I think I wrote down, I'm sure this is not how it's done at all.
well, there are some like that. There's like open or closed adoptions. Like
Right.
if it's closed, then you don't know who your child's going to. You just put it, you trust that they're picking someone good. But
Sounds scary.
like an open adoption, you are able to like communicate with the birth parents.
I feel like JC would be more of a closed adoption kind of gal.
Yeah, I feel like she would just like leave it there and be like, peace out, yo.
The way that baby cries is fucking heartbreaking.
Oh my
Like, I mean,
God.
seriously heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That was a really intense moment. Like, they
Yeah.
must have watched those dailies and just been like, nailed it. I mean, it was just so upsetting.
Yeah.
And then, like, right after the baby starts crying, we cut to JC leaving the adoption agency. So we don't actually see her taking Elizabeth
Right.
back or the conversation or the conflict. And that's, like, the first example in this movie of they skip over a big event happening. So it
yeah.
happens twice more, but I guess we'll get to that.
What did you guys think about that? About her taking the baby back? I mean, obviously, I feel like they kind of
Yeah.
forced her hand.
They
the way
kind
they
of forced her
characterized
hand.
these
Yeah.
people.
And also she like makes a comment later, and I might be jumping the gun, but she says something about like, I couldn't leave her with a woman who calls her husband sir.
She does say
and,
that
like,
in the next scene
I-
to Harold Ramis.
Like I liked that moment. It was almost kind of like she had Like, I don't want my, like, only relative to be raised by people like this. I don't,
Right.
and, like,
Yeah.
I want her to have better role models,
Right.
I guess. But
So then she was so
feminism there where
Little-
she's like,
little tidbit.
I mean, I feel like to them, the people that made this movie, they feel like that moment in the hallway is where you see her make the decision.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe did it bother you guys? We didn't see her take the baby back. It didn't bother me. I didn't feel like I needed to see that, but
Yeah,
maybe.
it just felt like it they didn't take advantage of what could have been like a dramatic or a funny or some kind of moment that would have been a higher emotional, higher stakes
Yeah.
kind of moment. They just like skipped it.
It wasn't a
interesting.
super emotionally high stakes movie, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's
I
true.
mean, if they were to go to that sentimental moment, I feel like it would have
was
been
too
jumping the
soon.
gun for the rest
Yeah.
of the movie.
Although
Yeah.
let's face it, do we ever get that sentimental moment where she's really like, this baby has? I mean, yeah.
I think
No,
we're
you're
supposed
right,
we
we
see
to.
her
do.
life get changed, but it's
We never actually
really
do
not
see that.
about the baby most
Yeah.
of the time. She suddenly becomes a mom, but we skip
Yeah.
that moment where her and the child are
Yeah,
having
like-
this bond where
like
she's
she looks into the
I
child's
love you.
eyes.
You changed my life.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah,
never get that.
That's true.
Anyway, so now we're in the train. We're in the train station for some reason,
Yeah.
and
Because
Harold Ramis is
Steven's been away, right?
Steven's conveniently been away. I can only imagine that had he been the one sticking the thermometer up Elizabeth's butt, that they would all be one happy family.
Yes.
But no, he's here to now. They're breaking up. So
But that was something else that this seemed to skip over. It was just very polite. It was very like, I can't do this. And then it would like cut to the next scene and I was like, wait, what?
and this stuff
Did
is
they
being
just-
Yeah, you're like,
removed.
where's
Did
your
they
right.
just
Sure.
break up? Like what? I didn't get a breakup scene. I got just like polite, like,
It was like a text message breakup.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know they were trying to like make it seem like their relationship wasn't strong, and that just shows how little
But they were
investment they
living
had
together.
in it. But it just didn't make sense.
They owned their condo together. Like, they were talking about buying a vacation home together.
But there
They
was
had, like,
no
a life
conversation.
together,
It was like he was like, yeah, I don't want a kid, and
Yeah,
it's like, okay,
no discussion. She just accepts it. She's like, that's fair.
yeah.
You know? Okay, so she brings the baby to work, which again,
though. Yeah.
I'm wondering at this point, you've had the baby for what, like a week now? Mm-hmm. Why are you bringing this baby to work? Or
Yeah.
take some personal leave. Like, surely she must have some vacation time saved up.
For sure.
I don't know why she's bringing this baby to work. As a mother, I find it insulting. You know, we know better than to. I try not to take my kids to the grocery store if I can help it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring them to a corporate office. Okay. Let's talk about the nannies.
Oh, man.
You guys
So much
want to
to
dig
say
into
about
the nannies?
nannies.
Let's dig into those nannies.
Then the nanny interview montage.
So we start off with, like, the crazy Christian. Mm-hmm. We get a woman who just had a nervous breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
We get a strict German woman. Mm-hmm. The submissive woman in a burqa.
The burqa.
And
Wow.
that is just extra problematic.
was
Oh my
saying,
God,
she
the
was
burqa.
saying like these really
I wrote it
dark
down.
thing. What did
Yeah,
she say?
I'll teach your daughter to respect a man and only to speak when spoken to. And I was like, oh, man.
I want to say this is offensive and horrible, and it is, but I would not be surprised to see that. And I feel like there are people that still characterize women in burqas in that
Yeah.
way.
That's
Yeah.
like the worst part about it is just like, I know Muslim women and I'm just like, that's not in any way anyone that I know. And like, I'm sure there are women out there, but there are also women walking around in polos and jeans that are just like that.
And again,
it's
this was
just-
in the 1980s, when,
Yeah.
which in a strangely symmetrical fashion, it was the 1980s when terrorism was a thing that people were very afraid of.
Yeah.
And particularly, people were afraid of the Middle Eastern culture, and strangely, we're still
there.
Yeah,
we're still
no,
there. We haven't
the
gotten
whole
over that.
thing, it
But
reminded me
yeah,
of-
that
Yeah.
burqa nanny really was. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that is great. That's
Yeah.
just
reminded me of Trump.
unbelievable.
What's going on with Trump right now? And
Yeah. I do like that she hires the woman with no experience first, though. The one who's just
Yeah.
like, I've never watched a kid before.
Right,
And she's
like,
like, you're hired.
passes over the German lady for some reason.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to have a problem. I guess maybe there's something about Germans being not trustworthy in the 1980s.
Or, like,
I don't know.
not Nazi joke. here.
Something like that, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she picks Victoria Jackson, who is just a complete airhead, has no experience with children, but weirdly charming in this movie.
Weirdly
I feel like.
charming.
Yeah.
But like, I also don't understand JC's thought process there. She's like, I'm not doing well at this and I have no experience. I'll hand her off to someone else who also doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah. All right. So she leaves her with Victoria Jackson and goes to this huge boardroom. Oh, boy, this boardroom scene.
Yeah, where she's the only lady there.
Right. I wrote that down.
Yeah.
In all caps, all men.
Yeah.
Not a single woman.
I feel like this is like this scene is like a stark representation of her like transition from the tiger lady to the mom. Because she's in this board meeting, she's like rocking it, she's walking around like strutting her shit. And then she gets a call and all of a sudden she just has a meltdown and like can't find her words. And I'm just like, why did you take this call? Like, you knew it was the nanny. Like, why take this call in the middle of the meeting?
This call in the boardroom.
In the room.
Like, who would not
I
walk
know.
outside and take it outside?
Yeah.
So again, I'm like, I get that we're supposed to see how her life is changing, but it's like, come on, nobody is gonna sing "Itsy Bitsy Spider"
In the middle
in
of
a boardroom. You're gonna take that call outside. I mean, obviously, if your nanny calls, you're gonna take the call because it could be an emergency. But you're not going to do it in front of all these
people who've already expressly said they judge you for this
Right.
choice and for just the fact that you're a woman and you may one day want a child.
I also wrote down, why do all the men in this movie hate babies? Like, is there not a single person in that room who does not have children? Like, somebody's got to have kids at that table.
Well, Fritz has kids, but his wife takes care
That's
of them.
true. He doesn't know what she does all day.
Yeah.
So
I don't even know if he has boys or girls.
he probably doesn't
know.
either. So I'll say this. The note that I have about this scene where Fritz brings Kenny on to help JC with the account. I've got the scene where Fritz brings a younger dude to help JC is like every job I've ever had.
Oh, God.
Like, this happens all the time. Do you sure you don't need someone better qualified to help you with this thing that you're obviously too stupid to do because you're a woman?
It's like every day of my life.
When we work with our group of people that we work with regularly on our projects, I never feel that. But I've certainly worked on sets where I have felt undermined or watched other women be undermined. You know, I know it happens in other industries besides this, but certainly it has been a personal experience of mine. So that really hit home for me, watching this young guy that she helped, get in, and he's like honing in on her job and like so smug about it. I mean, usually I'm not saying that the guys that I've encountered in life have been like that. A lot of them are very grateful for an opportunity to move up. But yeah, I see that happen all the time. So let's move on to the park. Oy, the park. These women in the park. What did you guys think about those women in the park?
Well, first of all, they have nothing to talk about other than their children and the children's schedules. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's our wife character, that's like
you're right. These are the only stay-at-home, or the moms, I guess.
We
imagine they're still at home. Like, that's we're not told that, but we imagine
and
that.
I mean, their days are filled with their kids, and then I noticed that she gets shit from them too, and it's just like
she doesn't fit in anywhere. Apparently,
she can't do anything right. Like, I mean, she's asking them about preschools, and they're like, "Oh my God, like you haven't even registered yet."
You have to register before they're born.
Yeah, and I was like, "That's
birth.
ridiculous. That's the most absurd thing I've ever heard of." Like,
And like I had always thought that was like kind of a newer thing, but apparently this was happening in the 80s too.
And I will,
yes,
in their
they do.
defense, when you take care of children all day long, it is difficult to talk about much else. I mean, honestly, there was a time in between what I'm doing now and what I was doing before when I was home with my children for an entire year, and I had nothing else to talk about. But yeah, these women, of course, come across as being enormous jerks, which doesn't say much for mom characters in this movie either. So, nobody really comes off looking well, I guess, in this movie.
none of the women really
Not the
win here.
yuppies, not the moms, none of them.
Not the bosses.
Not the bosses. Yeah, there's a lot of jerks in this movie.
Yeah.
That kid who comes up and talks to them about the sky looking like, I don't remember what the painting was.
It was like Onion
I was
Matisse.
like, that kid is amazing.
Yeah.
He might be my favorite
It was
character.
Paul Cézanne. It was like, oh, it looks
Yeah,
like
the
a Paul
Cézanne.
Cézanne landscape. And I was like, oh, yeah, right.
I have met parents like that, though.
That's
That
terrifying.
put that much effort. Like this stuff. Okay, what I'd like to refer to as the overachieving montage that comes up
Oh God.
with the flashcards.
Yeah.
I know parents like this.
That seems like a lot of work for like a 2-year-old.
Which is the joke, really, that they're
Yeah.
teaching them about
Like, great-
Botswana
Yeah,
and,
and
you know.
sushi and the great gray owl and like holding all these flashcards up, and I'm like, it's not even like the color red. Like start simple, like start little.
Yeah. Gosh,
Maybe
the
work on
overachieving
sign
montage.
language.
The baby gym where the baby's like swinging. How did they find that kid?
They like glued his hands to the ring. They're like, just hold on, little Jimmy. We're gonna put some glue on here.
The next scene, I think, is maybe one of the most important ones in the whole movie for me, and that is when she quits the job.
Yeah.
I did make note of like the things her boss that Fritz says to her though. He tells her that she's lost her concentration and gone soft,
Yeah.
and he calls her kiddo. And I was
yes.
just like, oh God, like
She's so upsetting.
she's none of those things. Like,
Yeah, and then I think when Kenny says that he's just helping her until she's done with her baby thing, I
Yeah.
just like it makes me want to barf.
Yeah.
I think that that's the intention. Like we're
Yeah.
supposed to feel
Yeah.
that way,
Yeah.
but I'm just like ugh. And I think the thing that bothers me the most is that they're not like mustache twirling villains. Like they are in a way, but like this kind of thing happens. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
way that they're
It's
talking
not
to her
extreme enough
still
to
happens.
feel like you said, a mustache twirling villain. It's like it's believable.
it's more just like a heightened reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way that they shove her out was, and I know that's the intention of the scene, but
Yeah.
it was very upsetting, especially, you know, as a mom to watch
And
the
it's
way
like-
that she's treated. It's like the thing that you fear, I think, as a
Yeah.
woman trying to be taken seriously, which is hard enough, I feel like.
And taking care of kids is such like a noble, like important thing to do. And yet it's like, if you take any time, like you just said, if you take any time that's not your work, you're going to get left behind.
Right. And it's like you can't win. Like if you stay home with the kids, you're those moms in the park.
Yeah.
If you go to work, you're not spending enough time with your kids. So it's like no matter what you do,
Yeah.
you're just screwed.
Yeah.
So then she quits.
She quits
She takes her paintings and her stuff and she walks home and
and cries on a step for a while.
and
Yeah.
does it make me a bad person that I got mad that she cried?
No, I
was
did
like,
too. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like she could have had a stronger cry. Like
Yeah,
I feel
like
like
an
she'd been
angry
strutting
cry.
down the street, like tossing her hair back, like, I'm whatever. I've made my choice, and like I'm sad, but like I'm gonna get over it because I'm JC, the tiger lady, and I'm gonna go rock this parenting thing.
Right.
And like, no, she doesn't. She's just like, well, New York's over.
Maybe
like-
that's what bothered me about it. I think you're nailing it on hitting the nail on the
Yeah.
head right there. Is
If she hadn't just like
I wanted,
collapsed
like,
on a heap.
an angry cry. It was like
Yeah.
she was so such a victim
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that moment, and that was really bothering me a lot.
Yeah.
And that
But
was
she
not
was the
the
one who
kind of
quit.
person. She was the one that quit, and we're told she's the strong, like relentless person, and here she is just like letting herself be a victim. And I know we can't all be strong all the time, but I think that's what bothered me about that
Yeah.
moment.
I think there could have been a better choice there for sure. Like you could have kept the crying, but like given her a different motivation other than just utter sadness and
And you
despair
could be
from
sad,
this moment.
but like angry and outraged and
yeah,
betrayed.
this just
you know?
happened to you, you know?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like I don't
screw you guys.
Exactly.
I don't need you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
You need me.
And then instead of going,
That's what I would have liked to see.
Yeah. me
instead
too.
of going to find another like job in her field, she just
Right.
gives up and like moves away.
I'm gonna go make quilts.
But I guess we're meant to believe that she always really wanted that, because we see her, I don't know if you guys remember in the beginning where she's circling the homes in the vacation homes, and she's telling Steve that she wants that farmhouse.
Yeah.
And that's the one she ends up buying. So I guess, again, we're meant to believe that secretly this is the person she wanted to be, I guess.
I feel like this is like an act break. It feels like the
It
first
is.
half of the movie is
It,
like,
and I
it's like a
actually
big
looked at the
sigh.
time, and
like halfway.
halfway, almost exactly halfway. I kind of, in a way, I kind of understand what happens here, because in between having my first child and my third child, I took some time off from working. It was just too much. I was like, oh, there are too, like, again, you're expected to do all these things. You got to cook dinner, and you got to do the laundry, and you got to take care of the kids, and then you got to go to work, and it's like, I can't do all these things. Yeah. One of these jobs has got to go, and the kids aren't going anywhere. So I'm going to, spend my time with them. So here we go. We go to Vermont. I didn't have a lot to say about this initial move.
Just that she didn't seem to think it through. She just bought the 62-acre
Yeah.
old Vermont estate.
It just seems like a very rash decision to me. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the problems that I have with this character, is that she's not well-rounded. She has attributes that somebody has given her, but they don't actually apply to her life. Like, she's a Harvard grad who graduated summa cum laude and is supposed to be this incredibly intelligent woman, but she buys a used car that she doesn't know anything about. She buys a house but doesn't get it inspected. She
women
does all of
are
these.
dumb about those things.
Apparently, women don't know anything about houses. I am a renter and nowhere near home ownership, but I still know
that you inspect the well
before
you buy the
you
farmhouse.
don't just buy a
I watch
house that you've
HGTV.
never seen. And she has an
She has a
orchard
cow.
and
There's a
cows.
cow.
And
I feel like whoever sold her the house was not vetting the people that
properly at all. She doesn't have
it's
those skills.
You gave her a whole orchard and a cow. Like, the cow comes with the house.
Yeah. And there's a part where she's in a rowboat and she drops the oars into the water and screams for help, and it's so everything she does is
That
wrong.
was the fakest fake ass baby in that
fakest
boat.
fake
I
baby
was
in that
like,
boat. Fakest
thank
fake
God,
baby.
because there should not be a baby on that rowboat.
No. But yeah, just all these little moments of just
incompetence.
She apparently just completely loses all ability to do basic human things.
Yes.
Common sense things. And her high-powered job. It's just all the things.
Motherhood makes her completely useless.
Yes.
For everything but mothering, which she does okay.
Yeah.
I did like the way she tells the Sleeping Beauty story.
I loved that
That's
moment.
kind of like me trying to explain fairy tales to my daughter.
I did like that, but it felt too little too late for me. It felt like all this stuff had just been adding up, and then it was oh, now you're going to tell a progressive fairy tale. It's I don't know. No,
I get it. But I did like the way that she was and then she told him we should go have coffee because I have a big exam. So I'm in med school. And I was like, yes, that's how that story should end.
And then she gets married after she becomes a doctor.
Right.
College-educated princess.
Anyway. So there's a running joke with this handyman guy who is the only handyman in town, and he's constantly coming back to tell her that things are broken with his
more stuff.
Nope. And my mom could not get enough of him in the movie theater. She thought he was just the funniest thing.
I just have 4 notes about how dumb she is and why do they keep talking about how intelligent she is when she hasn't made a single bright choice this whole time.
Well, because she's a parent and that makes you dumb.
Yeah.
So then she's making all the sauce and we see cabinets full of this applesauce. Yeah. Which, again, I kind of relate to.
Wait, did we skip over some stuff?
No, I'm talking about the scene where she's on the phone with somebody from New York.
Yeah.
And she's talking about back home, and you can see that she's really dissatisfied. And I'm I feel you, girl. I've been there. Where you're just I know I'm good at making bread, but I don't love this as much as I thought I would.
And also, our apples are not in season in the middle of winter when she's making this, and her whole house is filled with snow.
Ooh, good point.
Just a quick
point. Little continuity error there.
Yeah, a little tidbit about
it must have been
farming.
Those, unseasonably cold apples that are frost resistant.
Yes, frost resistant apples.
So she has this breakdown at the well, which I guess is kind of her turning point where she's just unloading on this handyman guy.
But it's not well thought out. It's not a reasoned this sucks and this is why. It is pure like insanity, just like nonsense.
Well, it's like when she gets to the farm, she goes from this like strong, cold character, like they characterize her as being like cold and unfeeling, to this like the prototypical like hysterical woman.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the character she becomes. But I do feel like that meltdown that she has at the well, I feel like I have that meltdown like at least once a day
Oh, yeah.
with my kids.
I do too, and I
really
don't have children.
Inside, outside, all the sides, where I'm just like, I just can't, and I shouldn't, and I went to college, and what am I doing here? So she has this meltdown in front of the handyman. She passes out, and of course, naturally, he takes her to the vet.
Yeah. Because, like, why not?
Who is played by Sam Shepard. Playwright, actor Sam Shepard.
Yeah. Also very young in this film,
Very
too.
young. I don't know how you guys felt about their relationship, but I could not have been more creeped out by them.
Yes,
So creeped
Thank
out.
goodness you said creeped.
So
He was, like, weirdly
creeped out.
rapey.
Even when they kiss, it was like
Oh,
so
it's so gross.
icky. And it's not like, okay, first of all, nothing against Sam Shepard. The man he's a brilliant writer and a great actor.
Yeah.
But the way that the character is written, I almost feel like he was intended to be like this kind of like Chris Hemsworth almost kind of dumb, attractive character.
Yeah.
And the casting is just really weird. Like, I'm sorry, but
I agree.
don't find Sam Shepard to be a heartthrob.
No, I'm sorry.
And it's not just like, it's not like I need some like super conventionally pretty face, because there are certainly actors I find attractive who are not necessarily like hunky. But it's just, you're right. He's like kind of creepy and a little rapey. And,
A little rapey, yes.
And I just,
He like puts his
It's
arm
icky.
around her and like is like listening to her talk about like not having sex, and then she like keeps talking
Why
about
does
not
she
having
do
sex.
that? What
and just,
woman
like,
would do that? I
apologizes
don't
and like gets
know.
all like weird about it.
where she's
and-
like talking to the vet. Well, again, she thinks
Yeah,
he's a
she-
doctor,
well,
but
yeah.
why would you talk to?
Some strange man who just says, I'm a doctor. And you're like, well, let me
well,
tell
let
you
me- and
everything.
And then he reveals that
Yeah.
he's a vet, like a total creep. Just like, oh, I'm a vet, you know, like it's
But
like,
also, it's like, why does she get so angry that he's a vet? Like, it's not
Yeah.
his fault that you're telling him all the creepy details of your, like, both of them are
Yeah.
creepy. I should point out.
Yeah.
It's not just him. Like, I love Diane Keaton, but she seems a little creepy
yes,
as well.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. I was like, what is going on?
And again, here in this office scene with her in the vet office, she's just the hysterical mess character.
Yeah, why does
suddenly?
why do all the animals scare her so much? She's been milking a cow for presumably a month or two.
She's just like, it's like she just entered the world.
Yeah.
There's a horse, and I'm
I
freaked
know.
out
And she
by it.
screams, and then there's a pig, and she screams.
It's like,
And
what
I'm
is
just like,
happening?
what is happening to
And
you?
then she gets so mad at him for being a vet. Like, it's this
Yeah.
dirty profession that no human being should ever be a vet. I
know.
just don't.
I feel like I'd be more
No,
mad if
why?
like I didn't know he was a dentist. Like I feel like I'd be more pissed about that.
That's where I draw the
Like
line.
that's where I draw the line. I would rather tell a random vet about my sex life than like wake up and have somebody be like, "Hi, I'm Dr. Bradshaw," and like me just start talking. He's like, actually, I was just like cleaning your teeth. Like you just like I
passed
knocked you
out
out.
in the middle.
Yeah, I gave you laughing gas, and you just took it really well. Like started telling me about your sex life.
I mean, look, this movie was written by a woman, right?
and a man. Both of
And
them.
that's true. I feel like he must have written the scene. Like, there is not I don't know a woman who would just wake up in a doctor's office and begin talking about their sex life in this
Yeah.
way. And then we go to the general store
Mm-hmm.
where we find out that they've been talking about her during the town hall meeting. And then the yuppies show up, which apparently Chris Noth
Chris
is one of the
Noth is yuppie.
I did
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I need to go back and watch
Mr.
that again.
Big.
Mr. Big was in that scene. That's really funny. So the yuppies come in and they're icky, as
Yeah.
they're meant to be.
And very interested in baby food for
So
being
interested in
young
baby
people with no babies.
I actually wrote down, why do these yuppies need so much applesauce?
Oh my gosh.
Like,
yes.
why are they buying? Is it like a trendy thing? Like, if this was written now, would it be like hipsters?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Hipsters buying just like gallons of artisan applesauce. Is that what this would be? Artisanal. Sorry, I always
Yeah,
say
it's
that wrong.
artisanal.
Artisanal applesauce. So after she sells all the applesauce to the yuppies, she gets this brilliant idea, and she goes to the library to read about business, which I feel like she should know about a lot.
Yeah.
By this time, given that she went to Harvard, I imagine in business, perhaps. I hate to make that assumption, but it seems like that was her jam.
Yeah.
That was her jam to begin with. And she worked at in what seems to be some kind of advertising firm. And now she's got gee golly, I don't know how to,
How do I
start
market
how
a
do I
product?
start my own business? It's like, okay. So we have the obligatory go to the library scene. And
Guess who's there? The love interest.
Guess who's not there?
the baby.
Yeah, I wrote down where is the baby who's
Yeah.
watching the baby while
Yep.
she's at the library. But you're right. Again, it's like the baby's there when we need the baby, baby's not there and we don't need the baby as a prop. But yes, right. So Sam Shepard is there.
He asked her out for coffee, and she just refuses, and she goes on this rant, I think, where she tells him, I didn't write this down, but she seems very offended that he's asking her out, and she thinks that she's taking a feminist stance, I guess, about being
asked out for coffee.
Yeah.
What stance does she take that is feminist about being asked out for coffee?
It's how could a man presume to think that just because I told him I haven't had sex in a while that means come ask me out for coffee? I didn't
Yeah.
understand.
No, she is irrationally angry at him
Yeah.
about something. I don't
About
know.
spilling
Yeah.
her own secrets to him and him being
And that he's a vet again.
Yeah.
She brings that up again, it's a dirty profession. I feel like it's supposed to be that trope of romantic comedy where it's the woman has to hate the guy
yeah.
and they're forcing it. It's
Yeah.
She doesn't have a good
guys,
reason at all.
Yeah, it does not
It's
make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if he was the hot handyman who keeps coming to the house and telling her something's broken and then looking at her in this really patronizing way,
Yeah.
she can't take care of herself, then I could understand. So she hates him for some reason. Then she's driving home and the car gets a flat tire.
And guess who's there?
And then he's just
He's just
magically
there.
not even a car length behind her.
creepily
He's just
following her.
pulled out of the parking lot after her and followed her home. And is oh, let me change that tire.
He compares her to a feisty dog at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was real
And then
icky.
he says, I like frailty.
It was so gross. I wrote that one down too.
Seems like a
Yeah.
predator.
Ew, that is just so gross.
And then again, she gives him this impassioned speech about, you shouldn't, come on to me and that kind of stuff. And then he grabs her and kisses her.
I
hate when that
Hate
happens.
that.
I hate
I
when that
hate that.
happens.
I hate that in movies so much.
Yes.
I feel like I never want to see that again. I actually I turned to Chris and I was like, I hate it when they do that. I hate when women tell someone that they hate them and then the men forcibly kiss them and then they like it. I hate it.
We had to
Yes.
pause the movie and
Just
talk
to,
about it because
vent
we
about
were
it,
both
yeah.
so mad about that moment. I hate those moments.
And then Chris was like, yeah, it's mouth rape. I was like, it is total
Yes.
mouth rape.
Yes.
That
Oh,
is
thank God
exactly
Chris
what it
thinks
is.
that.
And it is so gross.
As someone that has happened to me where someone has just taken the opportunity upon themselves to grab me and try to passionately kiss me and then I've freaked out.
You're like, that's not how it plays out in real life.
It's not how it goes. You're
like,
never
"Ew, I just
hate
told you I
one
don't
minute."
like you.
Yeah, you're
I'm
not.
not kidding about that.
It never happens like that. Don't do that, men. We don't like it.
So gross. Next, we finally get to talk about the montages.
Oh, the montage.
So she begins this applesauce gourmet baby food, I believe is what they call
Yeah.
it. Business. Country baby. Just
Starts
the
the
way they're
company.
presented even. The
Yeah.
visual style of these montages.
Yeah. She goes around Vermont trying to sell it to stores and people on the street.
This is where
The-
there's the superimposition of the railroad
The
tracks.
money.
Yeah, and the
No,
money
no,
is
that's
No,
the
that's
second
later?
one,
Okay.
which
Oh,
was
God.
amazing. And
Okay.
I want every movie I do from now on to have some scene where money is superimposed and people are just throwing it.
Yeah.
No, this was where there's a montage of train tracks and car driving, and then
okay.
just people really stoically
saying no.
shaking their head no. This is one of the things I feel like this movie gets right is that I like that she starts her own business. And I've got more to say about that later.
Yes.
But what bothers me is that she starts her own business in this sort of sanctioned for a woman kind of
Yeah.
field. And I don't want to diminish people who cook or who make baby food or who craft or any of that, because crafting is actually a huge business right now. But in this particular case, we have a woman who was in, very rat racy kind of job. And again, she goes full domestic here and starts making baby food and turns it into a business. So I do.
I hate the business she starts too, because it's like she still doesn't have a connection with the baby. She still doesn't seem to care about the baby.
Point.
And then she like uses the fact that she has a baby to start her own business. Like she exploits the babiness.
If there had been a scene where she couldn't get her to eat anything but this applesauce, I feel like that would mean something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is missing. You're right. It's just like that aspect of her relationship with this child was not explored. So even though this movie is a film about motherhood, it's not really.
It's not.
And I think that's a fair criticism, that it's like more of a prop and like a way to set up jokes.
Yeah.
Than it is like a thing that's really explored. And again, I don't want to diminish the importance of people who start a crafting business or start a food business. Or canning. That I got into canning for a while. That was another thing I got into, was canning jam. I don't think that. I think that's a great path. I just don't think it necessarily fits with this character.
Yeah.
And it's a weird choice for her personally.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was like something that seemed to be a sanctioned domestic job that she could do.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, because I think it's interesting that, I mean, starting your own business is not easy. It requires a lot of time. Like, I recently read Nasty Gal creator's book,
I read
Sophia
that too.
Amoruso's Girl Boss.
Girl Boss, I read that
and
also.
she talks about how she spent all of her time doing it. It's not an easy thing.
But she was into vintage clothes.
Right.
Like, this is the first we've ever seen her be into cooking.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
applesauce.
And it's just, I think it belittles the process of like starting your own business, because that's just as hard as having a corporate job.
It seems like this business, like we've
Just
got the montage
skyrockets.
where there's just like the financial chart that's going up in the air that means something, I suppose. But it all happens really fast. The baby seems to age not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like this would have taken years to build a business like this, but okay, it's the 80s. So then we have the dance.
And who is there again? The vet.
Well, I mean, it's
Yeah,
a small
I
town,
know.
but yes. Also, I want to add, there's a scene in between where she's at the post office giving out the catalogs, and there's like a moment where they literally have Sam Shepard, like he talks to her for a moment, then he goes outside and pets a puppy,
I didn't see that.
God.
and it's like they're like trying to make him dreamy, like they're just
Yeah.
really trying so hard.
In that same scene, she's like talking to the mayor, who is
The nurse, yeah.
nurse at the veterinary clinic, and I realized that
Why does the mayor need two jobs? Anyway, we won't get into it.
and I also
Seems like
realized
mayor's
that
a
the
big job.
Mayor doesn't have a name. Mayor's just called
You're
Mayor.
right. Well,
And
did we miss that? I don't remember hearing
I
her
don't think I
name.
missed it, because she calls her
me see.
Mayor constantly.
You're right. They
And,
did
like,
not. I don't think. They
I don't
did
know
give
if
her
they
a name.
actually
That
gave her a
is Really
name.
funny.
And like I'm
And
like, she's
sad.
the mayor.
And there's a dance montage. This movie's just full of montages.
Yeah, they really do love the montages.
And it made me think, like, this happens in so many films, like romantic comedies, just pure romances, romantic dramas, where there is no reason for characters to be attracted to each other other than how they look, or like we don't have like a scene with like a deep intellectual
You're right, they have
conversation
nothing
or
in
like
common.
an emotional connection. It's
Yeah.
just like,
She doesn't
you're
like-
hot, like
she doesn't like pets or
There's-
vets.
He says earlier, like we're the only two people in this town under 60. And it's
So
just
I guess it's like by
we
default.
have to be together because there's
I know,
nobody else.
It's just, oh gosh, that
You're not
line.
going to be able to sell your house, you idiot who bought this house.
You're stuck with me.
So, did you guys notice there's like a moment where she's got the baby who is at the dance. She didn't leave her at home. And she passes the baby to him for a second, and he holds the baby, which is the first time I feel like we've seen a man voluntarily hold a baby in this movie. And she's like watching him with these bedroom eyes. Did you guys notice? When
I
she was
did
like
notice that.
so
Yes.
turned on
It was so
by
creepy.
this guy holding a baby.
I know.
It's like, I am so hot right now.
Yeah.
That you're holding this baby.
I think she was just like happy to give her hip a break. She was like, that baby weighs so much.
Yeah, so I thought that was creepy and also like meant to, I guess, prepare us. Like, they go to bed right away. They're,
Right
like,
away.
right in the sack
Right
right
away.
after this.
But there's a little scene with them in front of the fridge.
Yes.
And this is like the rapiest part because she says no like a lot of times,
You're
and then
right.
he's like,
Yeah.
no, yes,
Ew,
yes,
ew,
and she's
ew,
like,
ew, yes, I hate that. That needs to never be in movies again.
and it's just like this back and forth, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, and I was just, and then he kisses her, and then it's like, okay, bedtime, and it's like, ugh, it was the rapiest part.
You're right. That,
Yeah,
oh.
she didn't even close the fridge. He's just like forcing her inside. I'm like
you
worried he's
cold?
gonna lock her in there. Like
Hillary's writing a whole nother movie that's happening.
all movies are horror movies for me.
God.
Oh, and then there's a line, all men make me nervous except you.
What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
I don't know.
Is
and
this the leg thing?
what
Remember, her leg
Well,
is bouncing
I
under
don't
the
know.
table in
Because-
several scenes.
I
Does
feel
that
like
mean
this
that
is a-
she's secretly made nervous by all men?
I feel like this is a different kind of nervous though.
She's
I feel like this
intimidated
is like
by
a
them?
sexual nervousness,
Oh, so
not like
no
an
men
intimidation.
are attractive except for the vet.
Well, and I
Is
made
that-
a comment about that too. I was like, since when do men make you nervous? Like, she's been this whole time this total boss lady, even to him, and all of a sudden she's like got to flatter him with this.
So
All men make me
nervous
nervous.
is really like insinuation for something else. Is
I
that?
I think
I have
so.
no idea. Like-
I think it's like a giddy schoolgirl nervousness, you know, like when the
like
first
they
time you
give
see
me-
your
they
crush.
give me butterflies.
Yeah.
And then the morning after, he seems totally like unenthusiastic. Like she walks out, she seems kind of drunk. She's like
singing. He's
And he
like
walks in-
insinuating they've been having sex all night.
And he's like, I'm tired.
and he walks out in like carrying his shoes and his jacket as if he's about to like book it out of there, and he's like totally unenthusiastic, and she's just like singing and like totally like
"Shit."
drunk on love, and like it's just ugh.
Yeah. He's like, shit, I accidentally spent the night again.
I know, right? How many under 60 women is he banging in this town?
I know.
That's what I want to know.
He's just slipping out in the middle of the night. He's just like, fuck, we had sex all night.
And in this scene, she gets a call from Fritz.
Mm-hmm.
It says food chain wants to buy her business, and the vet seems, upset about this. The prospect of
Casually
her moving
upset.
back.
He doesn't seem that worried.
Yeah,
about
he's
it.
just like, he just seems slightly like, oh, I might.
I mean, Sam
lose
Shepard's
her.
a good actor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he just like phoning it in this movie? Is
feels
that
I
like
think
it.
so, because he's almost kind of just like, I'll
He's
just go
like-
back to boning 60-year-olds.
right? It seems like he's got a lot on his dance card. It doesn't seem like he's that worried about it. So she goes back to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Baby is conveniently gone again.
Yes.
Although, again, I just want to point out we could not find anyone to watch this child earlier when she was taking the child to business meetings. She shows up at the office. Now suddenly everyone loves babies. They're all asking
Yeah,
about the
they're all like,
baby.
"Where is
I noticed that
Brought the teddy bear.
multiple people said she looked great. You look wonderful. You look terrific.
Which grossed me out.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why does she have to look wonderful?
Well,
it's
now
like,
she's a mother in her own natural habitat.
It also just pissed me off that she walks into the same office that like demoted her and like gave her so much crap for keeping a child, and they're all like, "Where's the baby?"
Ew.
And she's
right?
like,
About the baby.
It didn't go over well last time I brought her in here. Like, what the fuck are you asking me
also,
that for?
like, why is she not meeting? Okay, maybe I'm overthinking this, but I mean, I get we only have a certain number of sets, but it's like I
Yeah.
feel like you would want to meet at a neutral location, or maybe you want to shop around. It's like you want to get in
around.
there, get an offer, get somebody else to give you a better offer. She's a smart business person. Like, I wouldn't want to deal with those, fuckwads who, like, totally pushed me out of my job. But I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm not a
Yeah.
high-powered business lady.
I don't know. I have too much pride, I feel like, to go back into something like that.
Yeah. But
And
we do
then-
have to have a final showdown.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to happen.
Well,
So.
and but the whole board meeting though is still just like so insulting to her.
yeah, and like
Absolutely.
once again, Fritz with his gems, he says, "You're a big girl now."
Yeah.
That was so gross.
And he calls her young lady and like
They both do. Like, the food chain guy calls her young lady multiple times.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you kidding me? I did say that I love how confident she is during the meeting. I love how she's sitting there and she's toying with them. I really love that.
But we do
Yeah.
see her nervous leg twitch again. They give her an amazing offer.
It is
Just
actually amazing.
I know.
I was like, maybe you should fucking sell that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote down, I
Sell
was
that.
like, why would you do that? $3 million is an amazing gift to your child. Like,
Yeah, you could start.
What?
I mean, she's still running the business too.
But the
Yeah.
principle of it.
I mean,
She
the
goes
way
and,
they laugh when she leaves was gross.
she goes and talks to herself in the mirror, like psychs herself up, like you can do it.
I guess that's the moment of truth where you look in the mirror and you see who you really are.
but she didn't in that
Nudge, wink,
moment. In the moment in the mirror, she was like, yes, I'm
She's like,
back,
"I'm
baby.
I'm getting it.
And then she like walks back to the door, and it's not until she's like about to walk in when she's like,
I'm not the tiger lady anymore.
yeah.
But she
And
actually
that was
says
so
that
lame.
I'm not the type lady anymore. Which is like, why can't you be? Why can't you?
Before we even get to the end.
Okay, sorry.
No. Before we even get to the end, I want to add that before she even gives the speech, I had written down that I would like this movie much more if that love interest did not exist. Because I
Yes.
feel like that's
Yeah.
like supposed to make us give her a reason to stay. Like I feel like in that moment I did not necessarily interpret her feelings in that moment to be, oh, I shouldn't take this deal for my child. I interpreted it to be, oh, but my dreamy vet boyfriend.
Yes.
If he was not there, like I feel like I would have a lot more respect for
Yeah.
this movie.
That's
I don't
exactly
like,
how
but,
I feel
I
as
mean,
well.
I realize that mainstream films always feel like they have to include some kind of like romantic love interest because they feel like people aren't going to care otherwise. But I feel
Yeah.
like why not channel that into the relationship with a child? Like if we didn't waste time on this creepy romance,
Yeah.
we could have focused on the love developing between her and the baby, which would have been way more interesting to
way
me.
more interesting. And like I wrote that down as well, that like the choice she makes, like, and because she makes it for a man to like stay in Vermont and like live with a man, it makes her choice so much less legitimate to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And like it's not because she wants to run her own business or do any of these things. It's because she wants to be with Sam Shepard's character. And
She
I'm
does
just like,
bring that up. I don't feel like that's the only reason.
I don't think it's the only
But
reason.
I feel like the fact that it, and we'll get to that, but the feel like the fact that romance exists, it's unnecessary.
for sure.
It's just one of those things that people feel like they have to have in a movie, and I don't think it's needed.
Yeah.
At all. So let's talk about the speech that she gives at the end. What did you guys think about that? Hillary's making a face.
It's just like another moment of the hysterical woman. To me, she just kind of spills her personal life in this meeting when she doesn't really need to be.
You know, it's funny. Chris said the same thing sitting
It's-
next to me. He's like,
she
why
says-
is she telling them all this stuff?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
nobody cares in the end. Like you're turning down their deal. I mean, turn it down and walk away. You don't have to give them any reasons for it.
Yeah,
Just
you
leave.
just say your deal sucks. I'm gonna take it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
more money. Screw you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she says, this is just a silly line to me. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I just think the rat race is going to have to survive with one less rat.
Yeah.
So cheesy.
Now, I actually think that this speech, I'm going to provide a different opinion here. I think that the speech is one of the highlights of the movie for me. And it really resonated with me when I watched it like 5 years ago. The first time, having seen this movie since I was a kid, when I was pregnant. And I was thinking about like, how much time do I want to spend away from my kid? You know, do I want somebody else to be raising my child most of the time while I'm at work? How do I want this to play out? When she says, I have a crib in my office with a mobile over it, and a mobile over my desk, and I like that. I feel like you could read that as something that is like, I can see how you could read that as being something that's troubling, but to me, I feel like that's something that the movie gets right. And if you take away the fact that she showed no interest in applesauce before, what I like about this movie is that she forges her own path, that she says, the way that the working world is set up is not fair to moms, and I'm going to forge my own way, and I'm going to combine my life with my child with my business, and I'm going to make that work. And I feel like that is awesome, and it's a thing that I love about the movie. And I feel like it's something that I personally have been chasing ever since I had kids. Like, how can I take care of the children and have a fulfilling career and not have to sacrifice either one, but not be half-assing either, and not be overwhelmed and have no time to myself? Like, how can I make this work? I feel like all of us, like men and women who have families, should be able to have a mobile in their office and that be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that the speech is about redefining what success means. And I think that that is something that I love about this movie. I will also say that I hate so much that she caps off that speech by talking about the veterinarian.
Yes.
Like,
seeing this great guy.
It goes great. She's crushed it. She's about to drop the mic, and then she's got to be like, all like a schoolgirl, like, and I'm seeing this great guy, and I'm like, I don't know why you had to bring him up at all. It's like, so it just, I feel like it undercuts so much good that just happened.
Yeah.
In that moment.
I think that's maybe like my problem with it.
That was
like, my takeaway.
my main problem with it. Yeah.
Yeah. But she says a lot of good things before that.
She does, and you're like, when you point them out, like, yeah, she does. You're right, but
And
like,
then
then she ends it with,
And then they just shit on
that.
it by bringing it up this romantic, it's just blah.
Yeah.
So she goes back to Vermont. I don't think, is Sam Shepard in the ending? I can't remember.
Love scene with the vet. That's what I have written down.
Oh, okay. So why don't you talk about it? Because I did not write down.
Yeah,
And
that's-
the only thing I wrote about, I wrote everything about her romance with Sam Shepard is creepy.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I
That's
wrote.
basically it. It just ends in a creepy way. Like, it's just more like weirdness, and then she goes to her house and she plays with the baby, and then that's it.
Final thoughts?
there's a lot to unpack with this one.
I hope there'll be a lot to unpack with all of them. That's my hope.
I liked it overall. I mean, it's a funny movie at the end of the day. I mean,
It's entertaining. Sure.
It's very entertaining. I would probably watch it again. I was also watching it with the mindset of like, how is this woman portrayed? But had I just been watching the movie, maybe those things wouldn't have been quite as apparent to me.
I feel like it's hard not to notice
But,
them. I really do.
I don't
but maybe it's
know.
just me.
I feel like this entire movie would not exist without all of these things. Like, this movie is all of these kind of little offensive things, and without them, without all these different choices, this movie would not exist.
You mean like the way women are treated in the workplace?
way women are the way everything is portrayed, the way the characters are, the way like the lines, this circumstances, the set pieces, like all of it is poking fun at this kind of world, and it's like without all that, there's no film.
So are they I based on what you're saying there, do you think are they poking fun at yuppies, or are they making a big joke about sexism in the workplace? Is that the what?
I think
is that what's made? What is that the
sexism
funny?
in the workplace? I think that I'm too young to see it and know the difference between the bad guys who are sexist and the good guys who are sexist. It's all
So
the
even
same
the vet,
to me.
even the vet,
Even
you
the
think?
vet, like it all seems the
I guess,
same
yeah.
level.
I mean, the way that he approached their relationship was so super icky.
So I feel like I'm too young to view this as
But she
they would
plays
have.
right into that too, that victimhood.
Yeah.
She does.
at every turn.
But that's what's so upsetting to me is that, like, I think this is supposed to be making a statement about women and how strong they are, and like the resiliency
The modern
of
woman,
her. Like,
the
she
80s
just
modern woman.
She hasn't stopped. You know, she gets knocked down at her job, but she like builds herself up again, and she makes her own business, and she could have sold it for $3 million, but she doesn't. And like, I think it's supposed to be this positive statement on like being resilient as a woman and a mom and a person in the world, in the workplace, but it's just kind of meh in the end. Like, it's kind of like,
it's just kind of meh.
you were so close, but like
Right.
not
Does
quite
it get any
there.
points for being 30 years old, do you think?
Oh, for sure. For
It
sure.
is the feminine mistake.
Yeah.
It is definitely a feminine mistake.
So I gave it a little bit more of a pass than that. I would say I'm very conflicted about this movie. I feel like it does ask that we change the way we look at working parents. And of course, it only talks about women, really. I would like to say that we should change the way that we look at working dads also. I think that it very clumsily suggests that parenthood changes you. And that is true. And I think that's awesome. But then there's other things about it that really bother me.
Yeah.
The romance is unnecessary and gross. The premise is ridiculous.
Yes.
There's something, like, I feel like it falls apart a little bit for me when she goes to the farmhouse.
Yeah.
It starts to
Yeah.
lose its way a little bit.
That's where it kind of
So I feel like it's problematic. I think that what it's trying for is great. And I think that it did have an impact on me personally like it gave like I feel like I can credit the movie with saying to me like, oh, I don't necessarily have to choose one path or the other. Like I can make my own path.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if the movie is communicating to that, to me, I think that is successful. But then there's a lot of other stuff that I feel like is very clumsy. But I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass because it's 30 years old and we're talking about, you know, women still being viewed in this transition period. And I would like to say that we're past that. But we're not.
We're still
obviously
in the transition
not.
period. Yeah.
So I would say that wraps up our conversation about the movie. So before we move on to our next segment, let's see if this movie passes the Bechdel test. So who wants to talk about just briefly what the Bechdel test is?
I will do that. The Bechdel test is a 3-part test, more or less, that there are 2 female characters in a movie or a work of fiction. They have names and they speak to each other about something other than a man.
Right. So there's the criteria. These are
Yes.
these 3 points of criteria. It's a way that, you know, it's credited to a feminist writer, I believe, who
Yes.
brought this up in a critical work where she talked about how many movies fail this test miserably. And if you go and think about some of your favorite movies, many of them do not pass this test.
And it's a shocking number of them that do not pass it.
So does this movie, let's start with the first one, does this movie have more than one female character with a name?
It has 3, I believe.
Yes.
Well, there's Charlotte, there's JC,
And
does
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth count? There's somebody named Robin. Oh, there are nannies who have names.
Okay.
I'm interested to see if Victoria Jackson's character had a name. Yeah, her name was Eve.
Okay.
So we've got more than one character with a name. And I do remember Victoria Jackson introducing herself with a name. Do they speak to each other? Yes.
Yes, they
I
do.
think they definitely, we definitely have female characters speaking to each other. Do they talk about something other than a man?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
But only because they talk to Charlotte about work, and she talks to the nannies about babies.
Yeah, I think it's mostly talking about babies.
Yeah.
But see, it's too bad they didn't give that mayor character a name because she does
know.
talk about her business
Right.
to the mayor. But yeah, I think mostly with Mary Gross's character, it's her like barking orders at her, where she's like, "I need this and that, and do we cancel that lunch?" Or and then there are adoption agency people and other people that she talks to about the baby.
But I don't believe they have names.
I think the woman at the adoption agency
Okay.
does have a name, but I would not characterize the conversation she has with other women as being terribly substantive.
No.
I think it barely passes. So yes, it passes, but
passes.
I don't think that I don't think it's a stretch to say that she's really the only developed female character in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
The
and
rest
I
of
don't
them
even
are
think
very
that
much side
she's-
characters.
I don't even think that she's a very developed character as far
Yeah.
as developed characters.
Well, as
go,
developed,
but-
I think, as anybody gets in this movie.
Yeah,
I don't
true.
think. I think
Oh.
she has more layers than anybody, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But none of the other women. Most of them are just kind of bit
Mm-hmm.
roles. All right, so let's move on to our next segment. A segment we like to call Nervous Breakdowns.
I'm so excited! I'm so excited! I'm so scared!
Okay, in Nervous Breakdowns, this is when we read some of the most horrifying and upsetting casting breakdowns that we have seen or have been sent to us. If you out there in the podcast world have a horrifying casting breakdown that you would like us to read on the show, please send it to femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com. Sarah?
This first one is from Another Dog Day of Summer. The character's name is Emma. She's a co-star, female, ages 19 to 30, any ethnicity. Emma is Stephanie's best friend who is trying to prevent her from doing anything crazy. She's a typical nerdy type. For this role, we are looking for a girl with a pretty big butt. This is a character trait of hers that makes her stand out.
It's a special one.
That is a special role that I'm sure any woman would love to have. I'm glad somebody's
what
out there
matters.
telling that story.
Telling the story about the nerdy girl with the big butt
Yeah.
and no other personality traits.
Yeah.
So I have another one from Another Dog Day of Summer. This is Stephanie. She's a lead female, 18 to 33. The attractive female of a small town north of Atlanta. She's a girl that's currently down on her luck and looking for a change. Looking for a girl with large breast and long hair, or willing to wear wig.
I love how, like, for a second there, it almost seems like a human person. It's like somebody who's down on their luck and looking for a change, and big boobs.
She has giant titties.
Yes,
And like,
so just
Doesn't
in case you thought she was a
Doesn't
human.
that one say with large breast singular?
yeah, it does. That's what concerns
So maybe
me too.
one large breast.
Just
Yeah.
one. So for all those lopsided girls, this is your big break.
Or maybe just one single breast.
Yeah.
For all those uni breasts out there.
Yeah. Have you had a mastectomy? We found the role for you.
So we're going to move on to our last segment called Plug It Up. Okay, Plug It Up is a segment where we kind of talk about, just briefly, what we are up to or what the guests are up to. We don't have a guest this week, but Hillary, you got anything you would like to plug this week?
Yeah, I would. Well, my sketch Honest Makeup blog premieres at a festival called Ladylike Variety Show here in Atlanta at the very tail end of this month. But then it will be going up on YouTube on our channel Critical Crop Top.
So I think it'll actually have already premiered by the time we put the podcast up.
It will.
Yeah.
It will be in February, available online, however.
That's
So,
true. On Critical Crop Top, the new YouTube channel that we have started.
Yes.
For lots of sketch and funny short videos.
Exactly.
Critical Crop Top on YouTube. Look it up.
You can always catch my show, PYT's web show, either on Critical Crop Top or on our YouTube channel, PYT's web show.
Which is very funny. Very funny show.
Thanks. And then also I'm starting rehearsals for a play here at Pinch and Ouch Theater. It's called Gideon's Knot. It's about a parent-teacher conference, and I get to work with two powerhouse actresses, and I'm looking forward to it so much. That will open on March 3rd and run through the end of the month, but we start rehearsals in February.
Yeah, so that will be out a month after this podcast airs.
Yes.
Pinch and Ouch Theater in Atlanta, and Gideon's Knot, a fantastic play with two great female characters in it. Sarah, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I am assistant directing and stage managing Gideon's Knot under Hillary's direction. And my short film, Hi Grandma, will be premiering on our Critical Crop Top YouTube channel. So check that out when it goes up.
Yeah, lots of good stuff on Critical Crop Top. I'm going to have new videos popping up throughout the year. We're going to be putting up some things that we've premiered in the recent past, so come by and check it out. I would also like to plug my web series, The Motherload. So that's the Motherload web series, a trailer for which you can find on Critical Crop Top. The show is on YouTube. It's on Vimeo. You can find us at motherloadseries.com. And I would also like to plug something else we're all working on, the Film for a Better Future Film Festival, which will be in May. So that is a ways away, but we are accepting submissions right now. If you've got a film with a message, please submit your film, even if you're like, oh, I don't know what my message is. Like, you miss it. You probably do have, most people have something that they're trying to say. So, if you feel like you've got a story that you want to tell, please submit to this festival. It's going to be really exciting. Look for us on Without a Box or Film Freeway.
There's also a youth
right.
category in the festival, so grades K through 12th.
Yeah, so great opportunity for any of those young filmmakers to get their story out there.
And you can find the requirements for the youth category on our website. It's filmforfuture.com.
Yes, so please check that out. All right, so I think that wraps it up for our first episode of the Feminine Mistake podcast. So thank you for joining us. Please come back and see us again next, or so not see us, because this is a podcast. That's ridiculous. Come back and listen again next month. Right now, the podcast is going to be monthly. We're going to see, how that goes. If we feel like we can, release these more often, then maybe we will. But right now, this is going to be a monthly podcast. So come check us out. And
make sure you like us on Facebook.
Like us on Facebook, where you can find out what we will be watching next time. If you want to watch the movie in advance of the podcast, we will be releasing that information prior to the podcast. So thanks for joining us, and have a great month.
Bye.
Peace out.
Woo!